Hey there, and welcome back to another Dreamworks video. And recently, I was thinking a little bit about Kung Fu Panda, as you do. And I was thinking about what a great character Master Shifu is. He's always been one of my favorites. Wise and powerful, and one of the funniest characters in the franchise. A character who's both hilarious when spouting off cold one-liners, or just when lamenting how Po's existence burdens him and how his life's never been the same since he entered it. And so yeah, he's long been my favorite. But then, as you do, I started to delve into his backstory and think about his role within the films, and I realized that he kinda sucks. Seriously, I love him, I think he's great, but the dude is useless in almost every single way. And let me explain, drawing mostly on the films, but I will touch on the shows a little bit, as it does add a little bit of context and flavour. Because, honestly, throughout his entire life, he does almost nothing positive of note beyond training Po, and even that, I would argue, has a big old asterisk next to it. And so we'll start from the beginning. According to the show, Shifu was trained by Oogway alongside various other animals to form the group the Furious Five, a group that he would later reform with his own students. And during this time, one of his fellow students was constantly held up as the perfect student, the consummate warrior, the strongest of the five, and as these things often go, this gave her a big head and she tried to fight Oogway, who defeated her. Classic Chad Oogway. Never takes an L. And so, having had a close friend fall to the proverbial dark side through her own pride and arrogance that was brought on by constant praise and hero worship, you'd think that Shifu, when he eventually would become a master, would probably try to avoid making Oogway's same mistakes, right? Right? Wrong! Because he raises Tai Lung to be even worse apparently. He talks him up. He tells him how great he is. He's gonna be the Dragon Warrior for sure! He never checks his dark impulses and lives in denial. Never training him to let go of his rage and his aggression. And honestly, he probably rarely told him no, so just bad parenting and bad kung fu teachering. Big fail for Shifu. Because when the dude requests the Dragon Scroll and gets turned down, does he take it well? Nope. In Tigress's words, he lays waste to the valley and realistically probably killed some people before Oogway finally takes him down. That's right, Shifu doesn't even get a hit in on him before taking the L. So that's a big failure as both a mentor and as a father. But at least he takes that lesson and applies it to his future students, right? Although I would argue he overcorrects, because he pretty much takes Tigress in as his next kid, his daughter, and yet he's cut off, and he's distant, and he's bitter. Not exactly the best way to raise a child if you ask me. And you can see from the films that it does take its toll on her, but hey, at least the Furious Five are all decently strong. Although, they do get 5v1'd by Tai Lung, so how good a teacher could he possibly be? Same with Po. Yeah, Po defeats Tai Lung through unconventional tactics, but he's just so good anyway. You could actually argue that while Shifu did get him started, the rest was just premium Po. It was all him. Hell, he learns the whooshy finger hold completely on his own. A massively advanced technique that he used to kill Tai Lung, and he learned it on his own. After a couple of days max of training? Pfft, sure Shifu, that's all you. And in the second film, the same shit happens. Po sees Shifu catch a water droplet on his finger and redirect it into a pond using inner peace, and then after watching it one time, he applies that lesson into redirecting cannon fire. Pfft. How much credit can you actually give Shifu for that? It's pretty much just proof that Po is a relentless Chad in the art of Kung Fu. All Shifu did was get him started using food-based training, which was clever, but not really anything too special. And so, based on this, I think we can sort of see that his feats as a master in terms of training are actually quite minimal. He trained Tai Lung, who would end up going on a murderous rampage twice. He trained the Furious Five, who, whilst powerful, were clapped in a 5v1 against said former pupil. And the crowning jewel of all his students, Po, the Dragon Warrior, is clearly just a supreme prodigy, judging by how quickly he picked up Kung Fu, inner peace techniques, and then in the third film, Chi. All Shifu did was get him out of his shell. And so, whilst, yeah, he's not the worst master ever, these certainly aren't the feats you'd be expecting based on how everybody talks about him. But then there's also this question. How strong even is Shifu? The dude seems like he isn't even all that good at martial arts to begin with. He lacked the capability to defeat Tai Lung in their first bout, but we can chalk that up to conflicted feelings. And so Oogway was forced to step in, and he just completely stomps him. Then, when confronted for the second time by his wayward son, he puts up a little bit more of a fight, but in the end, he really still does get completely stomped by this mountain of muscle. Also, how did Tai Lung not just waste away? How did his muscles not start to atrophy? The dude was locked in this shell straitjacket for 20 years, right? Whatever, that's for another day. But yeah, he gets crushed, and then Po claps this guy with relative ease. That's got to be depressing for the dude no matter what way you slice it. And then after the first film, his fighting role does drop off again. But he does come around to fight in the second film and does well for himself, credit where credit's due, but he only fights low levels. And so when we get to the third film, we have him show Po the power of chi, and whilst he is able to use it a little bit, I think he uses it to make a flower bloom, he's somehow, despite being an old retired master, unable to use it in the same way as characters like Oogway, or Kai, or Po. Like, this dude has trained under Oogway all his life. Literally his entire life until the old tortoise, the greatest master of all time, finally died. Are you telling me all these years, this is the best he can do? To the point that now, at the end of that film, he has to ask Po to teach him how to harness the power of chi properly, so that he could maybe become a great master of it, just like Po. Seriously, imagine how he has to feel to be so utterly outclassed in every single way by Po. I mean, I know that pandas are pretty much described to be on kung fu steroids and seem to be able to master techniques faster than anybody, but still, so rough. Also, he takes another L in the third film when Kai beats him because once again, Shifu gets distracted. Despite him actually seeming like he's going to win, during the course of the fight, he notices that Kai has Oogway's chi pendant, which in turn leads to him getting distracted and defeated. Surely a true master is able to master his emotions. What has Shifu mastered? Anything? And so across these three films, Shifu has almost no real feat of kung fu mastery. He's easily eclipsed in every single way by Po. He loses like a jobber every time he goes up against a major villain, and all his students are either mid-tier, at best, earned their reputations on their own, or went crazy and tried to kill everybody. I think Tigress might be his only true success, a true force to be reckoned with. After all, he actually did properly train her, and she's not crazy and evil. Good work, Shifu. You have a single win. But yeah, apart from that, we're told over and over that Shifu is a great wise master, but you never actually see it within the films themselves. And in truth, on screen it seems to be the complete opposite. Which, on the one hand, it's actually quite funny that he's been written that way, but on the other hand, it really goes off to show how good his voice acting and scripting is. Dustin Hoffman brings such gravitas and presence to this role, that no matter what he does and how much he fails, you buy into this dude. And thus, Shifu could run naked through the streets, clad only in a baby bonnet, saying goo goo gaga, and then in the next scene, be back to the wise master persona, and it would come across as very believable. And so, in the end, late in the game, this video somehow morphed into a Dustin Hoffman appreciation post. For his acting, not for his personal life. Woo! Anyway, he, and I guess the writers, managed to take a character that does nothing, and achieves very little, and make him seem cool and wise and powerful, which is no mean feat, so hats off to them. And so beyond that, I have really nothing else to say. And so I'll remind you that these were just my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What do you think of Master Shifu? Is he as much of a failure as I claimed? Or maybe you disagree? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know.